Okay, so thank you everyone for joining our Sport Wales Be Active Wales funding information session. So I'm Ffion, the South Wales Regional Development Manager at Bacio Cymru. So next page. So what we're going to look at is just quick 15 minutes. We're going to go through the Be Active Wales funding pot. So who can apply for it, what sort of things you can apply for, what is the actual application process, and then we're going to got some case studies to look at of previous applications and what they've managed to get funding for. And then we'll finish off and look at some other funding sources as well. So I just wanted to start with the why. So why bother applying to the fund? So we've got a really nice example here of Merthyr Wheels, which is an inclusive cycling club in Merthyr Tydfil. So they managed to get £16,842, which has allowed them to buy some e-bikes, some normal bikes, storage container, and some safety equipment. And this is a photo of one of their accessible rides that they lead up in Merthyr Tydfil. And there's a really nice article about it up on the Sport Wales website, but they just talk about how it's made their cycling club more accessible and how it's had a really good impact on some of their riders. And a big part of their group of riders are people with disabilities or diagnosed mental health conditions. So that's the why it can really impact your club. So now we're just going to look at the details. So who can apply for the funding? So it's any clubs or community groups that are affiliated to British Cycling. You need a bank account in the same name as your club or group as well. What is the fund for? So it's to help get people more active through sport. And it's for projects that haven't started yet. So, for example, if you've already bought some equipment or attended a coaching course, you can't get funding to pay for that. So, you can't get funding retrospectively. And they really like projects that promote equality, sustainability, and innovation. So, that's something that you can talk about in your application as well. So, how does the application process work? So, you submit an expression of interest form to start. You'll then hear back from Sport Wales, so you'll get confirmation and you'll also likely get some feedback. So this might be them just asking you some questions, or they might direct you to a different funding pot that they have if they don't think that what you're applying for is relevant. So you get that initial feedback. We really recommend that you then speak to your regional development manager. So that's me in the southeast, Mark in the west, Mark Edwards in the west, and Lewis Thompson in north. So we can advise you and support you throughout the whole application. And then at this point, you'll be invited to complete the full application form. So at this point, you can fill in more details and talk about how the project will impact your club. So how much money can you actually get? So anywhere between £300 and £50,000. A change for this year is that you will not get 100% of your total project cost. So for anything up to 25 grand, Sport Wales will give you 90% of the project costs and you will have to fund the rest. And then anything above £25,000, your fund or Sport Wales will fund up to 80% of the project. So you will have to use some of your own club funds for this. So whether it's through like membership fees, sponsorship, fundraising. So if any clubs need help with that, we can support you there. Another change for this year is application windows. So there are 3 dedicated application windows. So the first one is open right now, 2nd of April to the 4th of June. So they have a specific amount of funding allocated to each window. So if there was a really popular window, then potentially you wouldn't get all of your money during that window and you could reapply in a different window. It will also mean that there maybe will be a slight delay compared to previous years in terms of how long it will take to get the funding as well. So if you look at these dates, really recommend that if you're looking to get some money for anything taking place like this summer or autumn, that you probably need to get the application in the first window. And then a key thing is that you can only get one successful Be Active Wales funding application per year. So the key thing is to make sure you're planning ahead and thinking about what your club needs money for over the next year. Okay, so now into some examples of what you can actually apply for. So these are just some photos of equipment that clubs have managed to get through the funds. So coaching equipment is really popular. We've got some like mountain bike hopper ramps on the left. anything to make your sessions a bit more exciting. Floodlights are another one. So we've had some clubs apply for some portable floodlights, which has allowed them to do cyclocross sessions during the winter months. And bikes, that's another really obvious one because it allows more people to access your sessions. Okay, so into the details. So what you can apply for: bikes, helmets, safety equipment, coaching equipment, which I have missed off there. And then, so happily, Sport Wales will fund all of that. Venue hire is quite specific. So you can get venue hire for 1 hour a week for up to 10 weeks. But this is for new clubs, which have just been set up, or if your club is setting up a new session. So, for example, if your club decided that you wanted to set up a women's only session, then you could get some funding to get that session off the ground. Storage container, that's another one. So you can get up to £3,000. So if in your application you're applying for bikes or coaching equipment, then you can get a storage container at the same time to store that equipment. And then floodlights, you can get up to £40,000. So these can be permanent if you own your own facility, or you can get portable floodlights, as I mentioned earlier. And then a big part of what they'll fund is volunteer development. So coaching courses, they'll fund up to level 1 and level 2. So for us, that translates to introduction to coaching and coaching in context. You will need to submit the names of all volunteers who will be attending these courses. And you will likely also need to make a good argument for why that course is going to make an impact on your club. So there will be a time where perhaps they won't always fund coaching in context if they don't think it's needed in that case. You could also apply for the Activator Award. So this is our own new Baker Cymru Activator Award. It's aimed mostly at like local authority staff or teachers to help them to give them confidence to deliver like safe and fun cycling games and facilitate a fun session. But this is also something that your club could apply for the young riders in your club. So Mark is actually delivering an Activator Award course for TOWIE riders tomorrow. And that's going to give their young riders some confidence to start supporting some of their cycling sessions. So you can also apply for ride leadership courses. So again, level 1 and level 2 and mountain bike leadership. And then also first aid and safeguarding. So this is actually a really, really important point. So you may have seen that there are some new affiliation requirements being brought in for 2025-26. All club coaches will be required to have first aid, safeguarding, and DBS, but they will have to be in date and no exceptions whatsoever. So if even one of your coaches doesn't have an in-date first aid course or safeguarding course, then you will not be able to affiliate. So it's really important that you start planning now, as I guess we're already in April, and thinking about going to your coaches and working out when all of these first aid safeguarding and DBS expire, and ensuring that you put onto your Be Active Wales funding application requests for those courses that are going to be required. So safeguarding, obviously you can get the online safeguarding course through British Cycling. I think it's £20. First aid does vary depending on your location. So I have got a link I can send out to a load of courses happening in Cardiff, which are £95 in the autumn. And we'll also try and collate together a Wales-wide list of first aid courses to help you get your coaches onto these. Okay, so those are the key things that they will fund. So what are the next steps? We're going to send out all of this information in written form. So actually an article went out on the Baker Cymru website today, and this will include ideas of what you can apply for, the costs of these. I think we're also including some links, like online links to find these so you can buy them directly. And then we really recommend speaking directly to your regional development officer, so me, Mark, or Lewis, and we can advise and support you through the whole application. And then finally, if you're really keen to get that money this year or this summer, autumn, then you need to submit your expression of interest form by the very latest 30th of May. Okay, so some examples of some case studies from previous years. So Cwmcarn Paragons managed to get some portable floodlights and some ramps and some coaching courses. Cardiff BMX managed to get some permanent floodlights for their facility. So the application has changed, or the requirements have changed slightly this year, in that you wouldn't be able to get that much money. So it's up to 40 grand for floodlights this year. And then we have Anna Buckland on the call from Cardiff Ajax. So Anna, would you mind just saying a little bit about your experience of applying to the Be Active Wales Fund and what you managed to get?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm Anna. I'm the chair at Cardiff Ajax Cycling Club. And we applied in the previous round of the Be Active Fund for some upskilling of our coaches and ride leaders. So we've got about 10 coaches at the moment. We were looking to get a couple more. And then we'd like to sort of move some of our coaches on to the next level, and also the same for our ride leaders, to get a few level 2 ride leaders in our club. So we put in an expression of interest. So that came back to said, yes, we could apply. I had a little chat with Mark just to talk through the courses and what was available, what we could apply for. And then speaking to my treasurer as well within the club, we filled in the form. It probably took a good few hours. I'd actually done it once before. So I think it had helped that I'd been through the experience once. So I think it's the sort of thing, once you've done it once, you've got that form to go back to, should you need to do it again in the future. So yeah, submitted the form, put all the names of our volunteers in there that we wanted for the coaching and ride leadership. And then I guess it took about a month or so, and then it came back. We were successful for nearly all of it. A couple of the courses weren't granted, but most of it was. So yeah, and then it was like we just found it a sort of fairly quick and easy process. Just worth noting that once you've had that award come through, then you need to complete a learning log, which Ffion may mention in a moment, but you complete a learning log just once you've spent all of that money, and then that closes down your application, so that then should you wish to apply in a future year, your previous application is closed. But yeah, very happy to help any clubs who along with Baker Cymru, if anyone wants to have any questions, I'm more than happy to take them.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anna. That was really helpful. Okay. So finally, I just wanted to end just to say that there are plenty of other funding sources out there. So Sport Wales also have the crowdfunder funding pot, which is open all year round. And they have the Energy Saving Grant, which I think is going to be opening in May this year. So those are via Sport Wales. We also have the Geraint Thomas Cycling Trust, and then you can find hundreds of other funds on Sported, which is a really good website for that. So again, us regional development officers would be very happy to help your clubs there. Okay, and that's everything. So thank you everyone for joining.